We're here with Davis Guggenheim. He is, of course, the director of Waiting for Superman, An Inconvenient Truth, among many, many other projects, and now the executive producer of Spent, Looking for Change. Davis, how are you?
It's very nice to see you tonight. Yeah.
Great, and great to see you too. So tell us about Spent. First, what is it about?
Well, you were just telling us, we just saw the premiere of it, and while we were watching it, how many people watched it with us?
Last count was around 230,000.
This is pretty exciting. It's a partnership with American Express. We're following a few families that are financially excluded. And it's an issue that I didn't know much about, but people who are not in the traditional banking system and get trapped in this situation where they can't find traditional loans, traditional ways of financing their lives. And more and more it affects people in the middle class, 1 in 4 Americans. And our movie is a story of a few people who are going through this.
Yeah, you know, for all the ways that we cover the financial institutions on the Young Turks, I didn't know enough about this story either. And when you see the families that are affected, it's really moving. So how did you guys find the people to work with, and how did it affect you when you saw the project?
Well, Participant Media, which financed Inconvenient Truth and Waiting for Superman, they have an agency called TAG, and they approached us and said Amex is interested, American Express is interested in doing this movie. And I was like, well, tell me more about it. And like you, I'm like, I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. So regular families who like Tiffany, doesn't have a traditional bank. She needs a loan for her life, and she has to go to a title loan company, and she gets in this trap where, financing this loan is so much more expensive than for you and me. And it instead of solving her problem, she goes deeper and deeper into debt. And for hardworking families that are working right at that margin, it's untenable. And not only does it bring their lives down, it brings the economy down, and that's something that's interesting to me, something that's tacitly unfair. And if we could tell a story about it, we could bring exposure to it, and that's why we did it.
There's some chance that you and I share some politics, that we might agree on politics a little bit. So do you think that there's an unfair stigma to people and families struggling in situations like this, where they have to go to payday loans, they have to get these things? I feel like a lot of times politicians are like, well, I mean, they're in the 47% and
right,
et cetera. When you see the movie, it seems like, no, they're regular Americans who are working super hard in a tough spot.
That's what we found, more, and that's what the statistics bear, is it's more and more middle-class families. There's the statistics of the amount of families, I think almost half of all Americans can only find an extra $2,000 in an emergency. So if a kid gets sick, if a parent gets cancer, if you lose a job for a short amount of time, that's where you are. The buffer is only $2,000. That's a big change in the economics of a typical family. And where do you turn to if traditional, brick and mortar banks are closing? And that's what's happening. Traditional brick and mortar banks are closing. These other alternatives are taking their place, and it's really expensive. People who are in these payday loans are paying much more than we are. They're paying as much on these, just on fees, than they spend on groceries. And that's just not healthy for them. It's not healthy for us.
All right, then I got to ask lastly about your next project. Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I'm doing a film about Malala Yousafzai and her father. There's a family from Pakistan. She was shot by the Taliban on her school bus. And she's this remarkable young Pakistani. I know you've given her an award. I was just with her last week in Kenya, and she's building schools there. It's going to be a special movie.
Yeah, she's unbelievable. So is the project done? Have you shot it all yet?
I'm in the middle of it. So it'll be done in January and out probably a year from now. So it's very exciting.
Well, this movie was great, and I'm certainly looking forward to the next one as well. Thank you so much for joining us.